What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I will be reviewing the F1 movie from a sim racer's perspective, and I've been sim racing for about 1.5 years now, so as a sim racer I probably feel a little bit different about this movie compared to how the average F1 fan would feel. But yeah, let's get right into it. So first of all, let's talk about the beginning of the movie. So this movie starts off at the 24 Hours of Daytona, and I've done this 24-hour race myself earlier this year on iRacing, and it was a blast. I gotta say, the whole Daytona sequence was pretty darn amazing. Obviously, you have some Hollywood magic in there. We started the movie with Brad Pitt waking up at night. It just reminded me of these 24-hour endurance races where I have to wake up at 3 a.m. and hop on the computer and grab my wheel, hop straight into the car. And yeah, it just feels really good. There are a lot of really nice details, like putting on the seatbelt, jumping in the GT3 car, getting strapped in, getting ready, and just pulling out of the box and just leaving that pit lane. It just felt, that whole scene, really good. So in that Daytona sequence, there's also some battles going on, and going into the bus stop chicane. And if you don't know what corner that is at Daytona, this is the corner, and it is pretty tricky to go too wide, and I think they really did well capturing that little bit of a race move, especially that barrier in the middle, because a lot of people get caught by that barrier on iRacing if they lock up or whatever. But in general, that whole sequence at the start shows you what kind of driver Sonny Hayes is, and I think it's a pretty interesting character. Sonny Hayes is a very interesting character, and he's definitely not like your typical racing driver, I don't think. Obviously, we get into F1. There's a bit of teammate rivalry, which is, I guess, what you'd expect from a racing film. High drama, and it's kind of like, it feels a little bit like Drive to Survive, I gotta say. There's some drama parts that feel very Drive to Survive-y. Now let's talk about the more technical parts of the F1 races. I really like the little details, like holding down the clutch paddle during the race start, and changing the engine modes and stuff. And as a sim racer, that really makes me happy, really. And the movie also feels pretty Lewis Hamilton-y, if that makes any sense. I know he's a producer on the film. It feels like he's had a lot of influence on this film. For example, drivers being unhappy with the team for strategy, or tire choice and stuff like that, which we saw in the last F1 race, which was in Canada. Charles was pretty unhappy with the tire choices and stuff. It was just like that in the movie. The visuals for the races are amazing, especially the wet races. The wet races look really good. But one thing I would nitpick on is probably the camera choice for the races. I feel like it would be cooler if we saw more driver's perspective cameras, instead of having a camera there and just seeing the driver's facial expressions. The thing is, you can't really see the driver's facial expressions because they'll just look at the corner and drive really seriously, right? If we had more driver's perspective cams, literally his eyes, I feel like it would be a lot cooler, because we're kind of just getting TV pods mainly, and the driver reaction cam. I gotta talk about the crashes. I don't think crashes are really a spoiler, because basically all racing films have crashes. It wouldn't be a racing film if it didn't have a crash. So yeah, but some of the crashes look pretty unnatural. And there was this one scene, there was a crash that I just when I saw it, I was actually laughing silently because it looked really CGI. But audio is really good. The engine sounds are really loud in the mix. You can hear the little engine gargle thing, the Chewbacca roar, when the car downshifts or whatever. You also have live commentary in the film. So when they're actually racing, you have Crofty and Martin Brundle doing the commentary, and it kind of they kind of come in at certain parts and then cut off for a couple seconds, and they come in again. It's oh, he's overtaking Charles Leclerc or something like that. In terms of overtakes in the movie, I feel like the races felt a little bit rushed. One moment you're starting at the back of the grid, and literally 1 minute later you're, I don't know, in P4 or something, which is kind of weird because the overtakes don't feel very earned. Overtakes are difficult to get, and it's not that easy to just pass a couple cars and move up the field. Opponents like Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, George Russell, and all that. These are top tier drivers, right? And I feel like the Gran Turismo movie did a little bit better in terms of overtaking and stuff, because they feel a little bit more earned. For example, that 6-second gap scene in Gran Turismo where they just had a car pass by the camera and waited 6 seconds, an actual 6 seconds before the protagonist's car actually passed the camera. So I feel like that was a really good scene. But yeah, the last race in the F1 movie was really great though, because I think they pulled off quite a few like F1 esports moves with the team overtakes, which we saw in Interlagos last year in F1 esports, like the Red Bull team. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I feel like the movie could have benefited from a little bit more runtime just to make it feel a bit less rushed. No pun intended. But yeah, because in real life you don't really just get to, you know, do a race and reset and instantly do another race again. I know they do a race every weekend, but there is kind of like a period of time in between that you get to, you know, reflect on what you've done the previous weekend, and the team gets to kind of think about what they did. And it didn't really feel like that. It just kind of felt like, you know, they hit the reset button and bam, next race, we're so ready and stuff like that, you know. And I feel like going to that last race there could be a bit more build up, because, you know, the team has to meet a certain goal, for example, and it didn't really feel like there was a sense of urgency. It was just kind of, you know, like a race. I feel like that probably could be improved a little bit. Also, for the drama side, in the middle of the film, it kind of gets a little bit messy because the main characters kind of switch moods really quick. In general, the whole movie kind of reminds me of Top Gun, where you have two protagonists that don't really like each other at first, and then they start to get along and stuff like that. And also for cameos, the cameos are really nice. So if you follow F1, you got a lot of different people that you'll know in the movie. For example, Gunter Steiner, who's in the first trailer, just like peeking out the pit box and stuff. That's like really cool to see. Really tickles my F1 itches. And overall, I would give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. I think it could have improved a little bit on the drama side. I'll probably put it right below Gran Turismo, which I think is an amazing movie, and also Rush and Ford versus Ferrari. Definitely worth watching, especially for the racing scenes, because they look amazing. So yeah, that is my review, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, definitely hit that like, subscribe, because it really helps the channel out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.